Hey guys, welcome to this video today. So in today's video, I'm going to be covering why most people fail with their digital marketing agency, SMMA, lead gen agency, advertising agency, and the like. Okay. So yeah, basically, specifically, it's going to be around like really why most people struggle to even get to that like 10k mark, because that's typically what I see a lot of people struggling with in particular. Okay, and a lot of agency owners just like never even get to 10k a month. I mean, I've spoken to a few who even struggle just to get to 5k a month. So you know, the question I ask myself is when I speak to people, like I ask myself, like, why is this person struggling to get to 5k, 10k a month, even? And really, that's kind of like the answers to that question is really what I want to go through in this video. A lot of this is just going to be based on my own experiences as well. So, I mean, it's not like an objective truth. It's just going to be what I've really found through my experiences, just with my business and just with working with like multiple agencies now, whether that's through the done for you service we offer or just like the one-on-one coaching and consulting that I do. Okay, if you're struggling to get to 10k, just know it's actually not really that hard. It just requires understanding a few key core components and fundamentals and getting them all working together systematically. And yeah, and once I, at least in my experience, was able to do that, getting to 10k a month was like seriously easy. So yeah, if you're in that place now where you're like really struggling, I've been there before, and just yeah, what I'm going to go through now is really what worked for me at least. Okay, so if you kind of like break down like any kind of agency, regardless of what type of agency it is, there's really just three components to it that you need. Okay, it's like your foundation, your outreach. I could have actually just put lead gen there for outreach because I mean there's so many ways you can do lead gen, but again, like I've said, this is largely based on my experience. So outreach and then sales. So you've got those three components, and you basically just need to get all three of those components dialed in and working together holistically. And what I'm going to try and do as well as I go through this stuff is, yeah, I'm going to try and go as deep as I can in the time I've got, and try and hopefully give you some perspectives on this that you might not have heard in other videos and things like that before. Okay. Yeah, so let's get into it. So basically, the question I ask is like, why do people fail with this, even though it's just three parts? So, I mean, if you look at it, it's just, yeah, three simple parts, right? But the big reason why, like, a lot of people struggle to master these three key components is really because I find that a lot of people don't get, or especially those struggling to get to 10k a month, they just don't get all three of these components working together holistically. And what I mean by that is they just see everything as like a loose part or individual part within the system rather than like all three as part of the system, if that makes sense. Like to give you an example, I speak with a lot of people who, they'll start a frigging agency because they went through some $1,000 course or some shit, and then they just get all these copy and paste templates, scripts, and things like that. And they just think that, they're going to send out all these scripts on LinkedIn, cold email, Facebook business pages, whatever, Instagram business pages. And they think it's just going to result in like this flood of leads and positive responses and booked meetings. The reality is like it just doesn't work like that, because the thing with outreach in particular is like the messaging and the channels even that you use, it all flows on from this foundation. And that's the thing, what I mean about like when I'm talking about getting everything, working together holistically. You have to have like the solid foundation first and foremost, because the outreach and the sales, it like flows on from that. It's all tied in as the one gigantic system, if you want to look at it that way, rather than like these individual, parts. Okay, so granted they are like parts within the system, like outreach is a part, but the key thing you got to understand is like the outreach and the sales, they all flow on from the actual foundation, and they all work together holistically. And that's really like the thing that I find, like just in my experience from with my business, plus speaking with other agency owners that are struggling to get to 10k a month. That's the thing that's kind of like, in terms of the thinking, that's really missing. Okay, and it was definitely like that for me as well. So basically, what I'm going to do now is basically just run through, in particular, the foundation, because that's like the starting block. I'll touch on some of the outreach and things like that as well, but mostly I really just want to focus on the foundation, because like I said, the outreach and the sales, or the lead gen and sales, that all flows on from the foundation anyway. So it's like crucial to get this part right first and foremost. So, if you've been around for a while, you will know that you need a niche and ideal client profile and all that kind of stuff, okay? But I want to try and give you maybe some ways of thinking about this that, that just might be a bit different to what you're used to, okay? So what I'll do is I'll dive into each of these three parts. So dialing in on a niche, okay? So this is really important, basically, like, especially if you've just started an agency and you don't really have like huge amount of credibility or authority yet. Like, you really need to have like a niche vertical you're going after. Like, if you just like start an agency and target like every vertical with like basically 5 different services or offers, you're probably just going to get crushed, because you just don't have like the credibility and things like that. Like, the thing you got to realize too is, like, when you see marketing agencies that like maybe target multiple verticals with multiple different services, a lot of them, they didn't start that way. They actually started with like a niche vertical, and then when they got a lot of credibility and authority and just built up like a rep, then they started branching out. Granted, it's not 100% always like that. Like, I mean, a friend of mine, they run an SEO agency, and I know when he started his agency, they literally targeted like just a whole broad range of verticals. He made it work, but all I can say is, for most agencies, in my experience, and at least that from speaking with other agency owners, working with them, and also just my own personal experiences, it doesn't work like that all the time. Just from my experience, I didn't really things didn't start getting like easier with the lead gen and sales until I specifically specialized in digital marketing agencies, okay? It took me ages to really like get a lot of traction with this business, but when I like dialed down specifically onto digital marketing agencies and got like really clear on an ideal client profile for digital marketing agencies, like just like everything took off. Honestly, it just made a huge difference. So yeah, so it's a really important thing that you can just dial down on a niche. Now, I'm not the biggest expert on choosing niches. I'm just going to throw that out there straight away. I honestly don't know everything about it. I'm just going to tell you how I did it, how I picked my niche. So when I started, I was looking at I was targeting B2B basically was what I specialised in. But B2B is like just a massive sector in general, right? So I was targeting like B2B SaaS software, tech companies, IT providers, cybersecurity agencies, like just a whole bunch of stuff. And I mean, I got results. Like, I was able to get clients in a lot of those different sectors. But as I mentioned, a moment ago, I didn't really start getting huge traction and results till I like stopped going that broad and became more specific around just like focusing on digital marketing agencies and a specific ideal client profile within that niche. Okay. So how I decided to do that was purely because I worked at a marketing agency for 3 years. Like I was a copywriter for 2 years and content writer, and then about the last year and 2 or 3 months I was marketing account manager. So I knew a lot just about like different areas of digital marketing, from SEO, advertising, cold email, LinkedIn. That was the full service marketing agency I worked for. So we did like a lot of stuff. Okay, so that was really honestly the main reason why um, I niched down to digital marketing agency, just because I was my like work experience. Okay, um, so basically from your point of view, someone watching this, I would kind of just like say to you, look at kind of what your background is, or even like, I don't know, like maybe you've got like maybe you've got like a friend who's like a roofing contractor or something, like, you know, that might be like a good indication to you to maybe look at a niche like that. Because you've got like the friend who's a roofing contractor, business owner, they're going to know a lot about the industry, the pain points, things like that. You're getting it straight from the horse's mouth, basically, which is going to have a big impact on the kind of marketing you do. So yeah, focusing on when you already know who's in like your personal circle, work background. Ideally, it's like a decent size. Like you don't want to be like super too niche, like, because yeah, I mean you want to be able to have a decent number of prospects to actually target when you do your lead gen. And a really important thing with this too is like doing your research. So I guess like from my experience, because I knew a lot about digital marketing, but I was still doing research anyway. Like, for example, I remember when I started targeting PR agencies. So at the marketing agency I worked at, we didn't offer PR or anything, so I didn't really know much about it. But it's like an area of digital marketing, right? Increasing brand awareness, identity, all that kind of stuff. So, but because I didn't know much about it, like I literally just started like Googling stuff about PR industry. Like I went on Quora and just typed in like what a PR agency struggle with marketing and business development. And I literally just opened up a Google Doc, would post in links to websites I found, copy and pasted like stuff I saw these PR agency owners writing. Like there's just so many ways you can do research and find out the kind of language and the ways this specific niche vertical like are communicating in. And this is something I noticed like so many agency owners brush over, because like it's not a sexy part of this. It's like fucking boring, to be honest, and tedious. Um, but yeah, it just makes like a massive difference. Like the thing was, at least when I was started targeting PR agencies, a lot of the stuff I did when it came to writing my cold email messaging, it was literally just like words taken from PR agency owners. Like, and I just like kind of changed parts of it to make it more succinct for like a cold email. Um, but and I had many conversations with PR agency owners who've said, they get reached out to a lot, but my messaging sounded like I got them more. And that was literally just because like I was copying and pasting answers from Quora by PR agency owners and then just like iterating that in my cold email. So it's like it was almost like I knew their industry, even though I'd never worked in it or anything like that. And it was just because I did my research and I knew like what they struggle with when it comes to lead gen and business development. Okay, so yeah, I've kind of gone on more than I intended to with this section, but hopefully that kind of just gives you some new ways of thinking about this, okay, in terms of dialing in on a niche. All right, so next part of this, which is related, which is really important, okay, you got to have like a clear ideal client profile within that niche. Like pretty much everyone understands this, but what I find is that most people who are aware they need to do this are like they're just too surface level with it. Like they basically just cover like physical criteria and maybe a little bit of the psychological stuff. So physical stuff's like job title, their seniority, industry, location, revenue, all that kind of stuff. Like physical kind of targeting factors, I call it. But the juice of it is really like the psychological stuff, and that's like their pains, challenges, what they want, what kind of ideal client they want. Um, what are they struggling with, frustrated by when it comes to whatever it is you do, things like that. That's like the juice, because that's the stuff that's you're going to then be able to use when it comes to your marketing and lead generation. And this is so hopefully now, like as we're going through this, you can kind of see what I was talking about when I'm saying your lead gen and sales flows on from your foundation. Because all this shit you do in the foundation literally forms what you then do when it comes to marketing, lead gen, and sales. Like if you know the psychological targeting criteria of your ideal client profile in your niche, like you can then use that when you create content. Okay, you can use that when you create outreach messaging, and that specific type of ideal client is gonna think that you're almost like in their fucking head because you've done your research and you know this stuff. So it's really important that you don't like brush over this, and just make sure, yeah, you go deep with it, okay? Because way too many people are surface level with this, and it's just not going to get you anywhere in the long run, okay? And just before I move on from this, one thing I really want to kind of reiterate. So just to give you an example, like it's really important that when you've dialed down on your niche and you have that clear ideal client profile, because every kind of type of prospect within a niche is going to be slightly different. Like, so to try and explain it, like one of my clients, for example, who we do a done for you service for, they target independent hotels and motels. Now they're very specific in that they only want to target hotels and motels that have like typically less than 50 rooms, and we're targeting like the general manager. Now, the reason why I want to explain this, is because the kind of marketing problem a general manager of a hotel with, say, 40 rooms is going to be a completely different marketing problem to that of a general manager with 200 rooms at their hotel. So it's really important that once you've dialed in on your niche, that you get clear on the specific type of ideal client within that niche and the specific psychological criteria for that ideal client profile, okay? Because, yeah, if you then reach out to messaging that's designed for like a small, hotel with 40 rooms for that general manager to a general manager with 200 rooms, it's just not going to resonate, okay? Because the problems that they both experience are totally different to one another. So yeah, it's really important that you get clear on that and just make sure you've got that specific type of ideal client profile in mind within the niche you're going after. So that's the second thing with the foundation. So third is results-based offer. So so again, I guess this is kind of a thing too a lot of people have the awareness of, but they just don't get right. So like what a lot of people I find do is they like sell the thing they do rather than the result or outcome that thing they do provides. So like you want to always be driving the result or outcome of your offer. So like you're not offering Facebook ads, Google ads, or you're not offering like Instagram, social media management. Like what's the actual results, outcomes, and end benefits like of that thing? That's what you want to be driving, okay, and getting like really clear on when it comes to like forming the basis of your messaging, and kind of forming the basis of what's going to be like the elevator pitch for your business, okay? And just like it needs to overcome like I call it like a burning issue problem, because what I see like a lot of times is like people will offer something that's, I guess you've got like need to have and nice to have solutions. You really want to ideally be having an offer that is a need to have kind of thing, which is like, and the way you make it a need to have for that business owner or that prospect you're targeting is really comes down to the burning issue problem they got. And ideally, the bigger that problem is and the harder it is for them to solve on their own, the better it's going to be for you in terms of actually like being able to drive the kind of messaging you need around it. Okay, so yeah, that's just a really important thing you need to understand when it comes to creating your offer. Okay, so big hard problem ideally. It's a burning issue problem that they're going to struggle to solve on their own, whether that's through a lack of time, lack of knowledge, resources, just whatever, don't understand it, who knows. And then it drives a specific result or outcome that they want. And a lot of this, like, you're going to know from doing the research that we've just gone through. Like, if you do like this research here, and you get clear on your specific ideal client for that niche, like, knowing the result or outcome they want is going to be like so much easier to do. Okay. Yeah, and every ideal client profile within a niche is going to have like a different result or outcome. And it comes back to the point I made about the general managers of a hotel. Like, the result or outcome a general manager of a hotel with 200 rooms is going to be completely different to that of a general manager with like of a hotel who has 30 rooms that he or she's responsible for, right? So this is where it's really important to understand this stuff. So yeah, that's it for the foundation. Hopefully that's clear to you. So I'm just going to quickly brush over some of the second component, which is like the lead gen, specifically for outreach. Okay. So in terms of what to say in your outreach messaging, that's really just going to come down to, like, at least in my experience, two things, which is what they really want, which again comes down to knowing the results and outcomes they want and how your offer gives them that result and outcome, and their biggest challenges, frustrations, pains, whatever. Okay. So they're really the two kind of things you need to know. Like, once you're clear on those two things for your specific ideal client profile in your specific niche vertical, putting that into your messaging is going to be a million times easier. And again, I'm going to say it again. Hopefully you can see at this point now why knowing all that previous stuff we went through with your foundation is holistic to everything else you do. Because what you know from that foundation is going to then form what you say and write in your outreach messaging. Okay. And it's even going to impact like the channels you use. Like, because once you get clear on who your ideal client profile is, you might decide, well, it's like, well, I'm not going to use LinkedIn because they're just not on there or they're not active enough. So there's little things like that. And this is why it's so important to get clear on this stuff. So once you're clear on it, you're then going to be able to work out, it's like, well, okay, what channels can I reach them on as well? And then what channels can I reach them on to then put this messaging in front of them? And a lot of this stuff here, like, once you form the base of this outreach messaging, like, kind of from a strategic and tactical point of view, there's going to be different types of outreach approaches you can use. But I don't want to go into that purely because, yeah, I just kind of really want to focus on fundamental stuff rather than, and principles rather than tactics and strategy. And I'm pretty sure on my YouTube channel I've got some other videos that cover sort of the strategic and tactical outreach approaches. Okay, so yeah, so hopefully that's like really clear to you. Okay. So yeah, and just to finish off, I want to go through a few prospecting principles for you all. Okay, so I guess when it comes to your prospecting in your agency, you've got first thing, which is like your list building, and again, like, the better your understanding of your niche, your ideal client profile within that niche, the more effective and accurate your list building will be. All right, like hands down. So again, I'm going to say it again. I know I sound like a broken record, but hopefully you can see how this all flows on from that foundation. Like literally, and this is the thing that I see people who struggle to get to 5, 10K a month. They just don't get that it all ties into one another as a holistic system. Okay. Second thing you want to really understand with this is like consistency. Don't believe all this bullshit you see online about like running some kind of outreach campaign and then the sky is raining down with sales. Like it just almost never happens that way. Like you need to be consistently reaching out to those target prospects from your list building you've done every single day, and iterating based on the feedback you get from that prospecting. So you want to be focusing on hitting certain numbers, KPIs, every day and every week. So for example, you might be doing LinkedIn. Some of your daily KPIs, might be sending 30 connection requests a day, might be sending 10 high quality customized messages a day. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about when it comes to focusing on numbers, KPIs. Okay, and then basically what you can do from that is you can then iterate and optimize your process, your messaging, the hooks you use, the strategic approaches based on the data you're getting. And that's why it's so important to focus on these numbers and really just like track everything you're doing, because there's just no way you're going to be able to do this objectively if you're not like working to numbers, KPIs, and then tracking kind of your activities every day consistently. That's honestly pretty much the kind of main principles with prospecting to focus on at a kind of bird's eye overview level. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I didn't really want to dive too much into components 2 and 3. Really in this video, I just wanted to like mostly cover the foundation, because it's, in my experience, that's just like what I find has the biggest impact on your ability to get to 10K a month, even 5K a month. Like this foundation plays a bigger role in that, in my opinion and experience, than these other two, because points 2 or components 2 and 3, they flow on from component 1. All right, so yeah, so hopefully that helps out. Hopefully it's giving you some kind of ways of thinking and perspectives on this that you may not have heard before. Because just to finish this video, I just want to really emphasize again how these 3 components, they're holistic. It's not just like individual parts. Like it's all got to be working together holistically and systematically. And if you can get them all working together in that way, it's going to be just so much easier to crack those 10K months. And I can, like I said, at the start of the video, I can say that from my own experience. Once I dialed down the digital marketing agencies and I got a clear ICP in mind for digital marketing, it made my outreach messaging so much more effective, and even sales so much more effective too. So yeah, that's basically, just from my experience, what I found works the best. Okay. So yeah, hopefully that helped you guys out if you're watching. If you want to work with me one-on-one or find out a bit more about that, my calendar link will most likely be below or somewhere on this page. You can book a time to chat with me. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, whatever you want to do, basically. And I'll get back to you. Thanks again for watching. See you on the next vid.